I never thought I'd be sitting here telling this story, Mark says, looking directly into the camera, his eyes crinkling at the corners with a mixture of disbelief and happiness. One minute I'm just trying to help my boss with her dating profile, and the next. He shakes his head, laughing softly. Well, if you want to know how a single dad like me ended up dating the woman who signs my paychecks, stick around. Trust me, it's worth it. If you're enjoying this story of unexpected romance, hit that like button and subscribe to see more real-life love stories that prove sometimes the best relationships start in the most surprising ways. Mark Jenkins stared at his phone, thumb hovering over the dating app icon. 3 years since Sarah's death, and he still couldn't bring himself to take this step. He glanced at the framed photo on his nightstand, him, Sarah, and their daughter Emma, then just 4 years old, all smiles at the beach. Now Emma was 7, growing up without a mother, and Mark was 34, raising a child alone while working full-time as a graphic designer at Horizon Marketing. "Daddy?" Emma's voice called from the doorway. She stood there in her unicorn pajamas, clutching her stuffed rabbit. "Are you looking at Mommy's picture again?" Mark quickly set his phone down. "Just for a minute, sweetie." "What are you doing up?" "It's past your bedtime." "I had a dream about her," Emma said, climbing onto the bed beside him. She was laughing. Mark pulled his daughter close, breathing in the scent of her strawberry shampoo. "That sounds like a nice dream." It was. Emma looked up at him with Sarah's eyes. "Daddy, Ms. Rodriguez at school says it's okay to be happy even when sad things happen." Mark swallowed hard. "Ms. Rodriguez is pretty smart. So why don't you try to be happy? Like with a new friend?" Out of the mouths of babes. Mark kissed the top of Emma's head. "It's complicated, Em. Grown-ups always say that," she sighed dramatically. After tucking Emma back into bed, Mark returned to his room and picked up his phone again. Maybe his daughter was right. Maybe it was time. The Horizon Marketing office buzzed with Monday morning energy. Mark settled at his desk, opening his design software to continue work on a client's rebranding project. He'd managed to create a decent profile on the dating app last night but closed it without actually making it live. "Baby steps." "Morning, Jenkins," came a crisp voice from behind him. Mark swiveled in his chair to face Alexis Chen, his boss, and the company's creative director. At 36, Alexis was a force of nature, brilliant, driven, and intimidatingly put together. Today she wore a tailored charcoal suit with a pop of color from a teal blouse, her straight black hair falling just below her shoulders. "Morning, Alexis. I've got the Brenner Pharmaceuticals mock-ups almost ready for review." She nodded, but seemed distracted. "Good. Listen, can you stop by my office around lunch? There's something I'd like your input on." "Sure thing," Mark replied, curious. Alexis wasn't one for casual chats. When noon rolled around, Mark knocked on Alexis's office door. "Come in," she called. Her office was minimalist and elegant, like her, clean lines, strategic pops of color, nothing extraneous. Alexis gestured for him to sit in one of the chairs facing her desk. "This is unconventional," she began, uncharacteristically hesitant. "But you're the most straightforward person on the team, and I value your eye for detail." Mark waited, wondering where this was going. Alexis took a deep breath. "I need help with my dating profile." Of all the things Mark had expected, this wasn't even on the list. Alexis Chen, asking for dating advice? The woman who could reduce clients to stammering with a single raised eyebrow? "You look surprised," she noted dryly. "I am," Mark admitted. "I just didn't realize you were looking." "I'm 36, Mark. I've spent the last decade building this company. My mother sends me links to fertility clinic websites." She rolled her eyes. "I figured it's time to at least try dating again." Mark nodded, thinking of his own profile sitting in digital limbo. "I understand. But why me? You have an eye for authenticity. Our clients trust your work because you make them look like themselves, only better. She slid her phone across the desk. So, how bad is it? Mark picked up the phone and looked at Alexis's dating profile. The photos were polished but stiff: Alexis at industry events, Alexis in business attire, Alexis with a forced smile that didn't reach her eyes. Her bio read like a resume: creative director. MBA from Stanford. Enjoys efficiency and success. He couldn't help but laugh. That bad? She asked, grimacing. It's very. You at work, Mark said diplomatically. But dating isn't a job interview. Isn't it, though? Alexis leaned back in her chair. Evaluating compatibility, assessing long-term potential. Maybe that's the problem, Mark suggested. When was the last time you did something just for fun? Alexis opened her mouth, then closed it again. Define fun. Mark shook his head, smiling. Okay, first thing, we need new photos. Real ones, where you're actually enjoying yourself. And where would I get those? You don't have any? Alexis scrolled through her phone gallery. Work events, headshots, pictures of my cat. You have a cat? Mark asked, surprised. Yes, Fitzgerald. He's very dignified. See, that should be in your profile. Cat owner humanizes you more than enjoys efficiency. Alexis actually laughed at that, a sound Mark realized he'd rarely heard. It transformed her face, softening the sharp edges. What else do you do outside of work? He asked. She thought for a moment. I read. I hike sometimes, up at Redwood Regional Park. I cook, though mostly just for myself and Fitzgerald. That's good. That's all profile material. Mark hesitated, then added, look, the company picnic is this Saturday at the lake. Bring your camera. Be yourself. Get some natural photos. Alexis nodded slowly. I can do that. And in the meantime, Mark continued, feeling bold, maybe we could rewrite this bio to sound less like you're hiring a personal assistant. For the next half hour, they worked on her profile, laughing more than Mark would have thought possible with his usually serious boss. By the time he left her office, Alexis Chen had a dating profile that actually reflected a woman someone might want to get to know, not just the powerhouse creative director, but the woman who named her cat after F. Scott Fitzgerald and secretly loved making homemade pasta on Sundays. The company picnic dawned clear and warm. Mark arrived early with Emma, setting up near the lake where they could keep an eye on the water. Emma immediately spotted her friend Lily, the daughter of Mark's colleague from the accounting department, and ran off to play. Don't go near the water without me. Mark called after her. I won't, Daddy. Emma shouted back, already halfway to Lily. Mark smiled, watching her go. Emma had Sarah's boundless energy and sociability. He was setting up the folding chairs when he heard a familiar voice. She's just like you, you know. He turned to find Alexis standing there, looking almost unrecognizable in jeans and a simple blue t-shirt, her hair pulled back in a ponytail. She was holding a camera. Emma? She's all Sarah, actually, Mark replied. Alexis shook her head. She has your focus. When she draws in the office while waiting for you, she gets that same crease between her eyebrows that you get when you're designing. Mark was touched that Alexis had noticed such a detail about his daughter. I didn't realize you paid that much attention. I notice more than people think, she said quietly, then held up her camera. So, I brought this as instructed. Now what? Now you enjoy the day, Mark said. And maybe let me take a few candid shots of you not being the boss for once. The day unfolded in a way Mark couldn't have predicted. Alexis, freed from the constraints of the office, was different, still sharp and quick-witted, but with a playfulness he'd never seen before. She joined the three-legged race with Emma as her partner, both of them collapsing in laughter when they tumbled onto the grass. She revealed a competitive streak during the volleyball game that had everyone cheering. And when the company's CFO brought out his guitar, Alexis surprised everyone by singing along, her voice clear and beautiful. Mark captured it all, stealing moments through the camera lens, Alexis with her head thrown back in laughter, Alexis concentrating as she prepared to serve the volleyball, Alexis with Emma, helping her make a flower crown from daisies. As the afternoon waned, Mark found himself sitting beside Alexis on a picnic blanket, watching Emma and Lily wade in the shallow part of the lake under the watchful eye of Lily's mom. "I think we got some good shots for your profile," Mark said, scrolling through the camera. Alexis leaned over to look, her shoulder brushing against his. "These are, actually good. I look like a person. As opposed to a robot in human clothing," she said with a self-deprecating smile. "That's what my last date called me." Ouch. He wasn't entirely wrong. She plucked a blade of grass, twirling it between her fingers. "I've spent so long proving myself in this industry that I sometimes forget how to turn it off." "You seem to be doing okay today," Mark observed. Alexis looked at him thoughtfully. "It's easier with you. You don't expect anything." Before Mark could respond, Emma came running up, dripping lake water. "Daddy! Ms. Chen! Come see the baby ducks." They spent the rest of the afternoon together, the three of them, looking at ducks, skipping stones, and eating too much barbecue. By the time the picnic was winding down, Mark realized he'd spent almost the entire day with his boss, and it had been fun. As they were packing up, Alexis helped fold the chairs. "Thank you for today," she said. "For the photos and everything else." "Happy to help," Mark replied. "Emma had a great time with you. She's a special kid." Alexis hesitated. "I'll send you the best photos tonight, and you can help me decide which ones to use." "Sounds good." As Mark watched Alexis walk to her car, Emma tugged on his hand. "I like Ms. Chen, Daddy. She's pretty when she smiles." Mark looked down at his daughter. "Yes, she is." That evening, after Emma was asleep, Mark's phone pinged with a message from Alexis. She'd sent a dozen photos, asking which ones he thought would work best for her profile. They were all good. The camera had captured a side of Alexis Chen that few people at work ever saw. "Mark, these are all great. The one of you laughing by the lake is my favorite." "Alexis, really? I look so undignified." "Mark, you look happy. That's attractive." There was a long pause before her next message. "Alexis, speaking of profiles, I noticed you viewing mine. Do you have one too?" Mark felt his cheeks warm. He hadn't realized the app showed who viewed your profile. Mark started one. "Haven't gone live with it yet." "Alexis, why not?" Mark stared at the question. How to explain the complexity of grief, single parenthood, and the fear of moving on. "Mark, it's complicated." "Alexis, the universal cop-out." "Come on, Jenkins. I showed you mine." He smiled at her persistence. "Mark, it's been 3 years since Sarah died. Emma thinks it's time I started dating." "I'm not so sure." The typing indicator appeared, disappeared, then appeared again. "Alexis, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to push." "Mark, it's okay. You're right, it is a cop-out. Truth is, I'm scared." "Alexis, of what?" "Mark, forgetting her. Replacing her. Failing at it. Take your pick." "Alexis, you won't forget her. And anyone worth your time wouldn't try to replace her." "Mark, when did you get so wise about relationships?" "Alexis, I'm not. But I know something about loss. My dad died when I was 12. My mom never dated again. I watched her build her whole life around his absence. Mark hadn't known this about her. In 3 years working together, personal details had rarely entered their professional relationship. Mark, and you think that was a mistake? Alexis, I think she missed out on a lot of life waiting for a ghost. Sarah wouldn't want that for you. The words hit Mark hard because he knew they were true. Sarah, with her boundless enthusiasm for life, would hate the thought of him closing himself off from new experiences. Mark, thank you for that. Alexis, anytime. Now, help me pick these photos so I can go find my soulmate or whatever. They spent the next hour texting back and forth about her profile, and by the end, Alexis had a dating profile that actually reflected the woman Mark had gotten to know that day: warm, funny, competitive, and much more complex than her work persona suggested. Before they signed off for the night, Alexis sent one more message. Alexis, for what it's worth, when you're ready, you'll make someone very lucky. You're a good man, Mark Jenkins. Mark stared at the message for a long time before responding. Mark, thank you. Good night, Alexis. Alexis, good night. The following week at work was strange. Mark and Alexis maintained their professional relationship, but there was a new undercurrent, a shared secret, a glimpse behind each other's carefully constructed facades. Mark found himself noticing things about Alexis he'd overlooked before: how she always thanked the cleaning staff by name, how she defended her team fiercely to clients, how her eyes lit up when she talked about design concepts she was passionate about. On Friday afternoon, Alexis stopped by his desk. Any matches yet? She asked quietly. I still haven't activated my profile, Mark admitted. Alexis raised an eyebrow. Chicken. Guilty as charged. What about you? She made a face. 3 coffee dates scheduled for next week. I'm already regretting this entire experiment. Give it a chance, Mark encouraged. You might surprise yourself. We'll see. She tapped his desk twice. Have a good weekend, Mark. You too, Alexis. The weekend passed in a blur of Emma's soccer game, grocery shopping, and household chores. Sunday night, as Mark was folding laundry, his phone pinged with a message from Alexis. Alexis, had first coffee date. Guy spent 45 minutes talking about cryptocurrency. Kill me now. Mark laughed out loud. Mark, that bad? Alexis, worse. He asked if I wanted to invest in his startup. Pretty sure it's a pyramid scheme. Mark, dating in the digital age. So romantic. Alexis, 2 more to go. If they're this bad, I'm deleting the app and getting another cat. Mark, Fitzgerald might get jealous. Alexis, Fitzgerald is the only male I can rely on right now. Mark smiled at his phone, surprised by how much he was enjoying this glimpse into Alexis's life outside of work. Mark, you'll find someone. You're too amazing not to. As soon as he sent it, he worried it was too personal, too familiar. But Alexis's response came quickly. Alexis, thank you for that. Sometimes I wonder. They texted for another hour, about nothing important: favorite movies, worst dates, Emma's soccer victory. It felt easy, natural, in a way Mark hadn't experienced in a long time. The next 2 weeks followed a similar pattern. Alexis would go on dates, then text Mark afterward with increasingly amusing horror stories. The investment banker who ordered for her without asking. The doctor who spent the entire date answering pages. The artist who asked if she'd consider being his muse, which apparently involved posing nude. Mark found himself looking forward to these post-date reports, offering sympathy and laughing at Alexis's witty observations. They began texting about other things too, sending each other memes during boring meetings, discussing books they were reading, sharing small victories and frustrations. One night, after Emma was asleep, Mark finally activated his dating profile. He used the photos Sarah had taken of him the summer before she got sick: Mark playing guitar at the beach, Mark laughing with friends at a barbecue, Mark in his element at an art gallery.